Look out there. Out there is the perfect lap. You see it?
I think so.
Most people can't.
Carroll Shelby, maybe. Lee Iacocca, Ford Motor.
Suppose Henry Ford II wanted to build the greatest race car the world's ever seen to win the 24 hours of Le Mans. What's it take?
You ready?
I was born ready, Mr. Shelby. Hit it.
Welcome to Fanboy and a Snob. I'm Chad. That's Chris, and today we have...
I'm back.
What's your name, asshole?
I don't know. What is my name?
He is Andrew Lavera. And today we watch Ford v Ferrari.
A really gay movie.
Why did we watch this, Andrew?
Well, it was my turn to pick, and everyone who I know said I needed to see this movie, and I just hadn't gotten around to seeing it, so I suggested it.
I watched it once really
Wait,
drunk.
is this the first time you watched that, Andrew?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah, I watched this once.
I knew the history. So for anyone who doesn't know, this is actually based on a true story. I already knew the story going into it, but obviously I just hadn't seen the movie.
That's cool. I'm glad this is the first time you saw it. Chris saw it drunk, so it's like a new movie to him.
Yeah, I forgot a lot of this movie. I remember in my drunk mind it being like this crazy race movie. Like just race cars crashing into shit and speeding around.
So what he's saying is normal scenes without racing, he was on his computer watching porn.
No, normal scenes without racing, I was like, the fuck's happening? And just drinking. And then when racing happened, I was like, whoa, and then just kept drinking.
This is like a live action Redline, kind of.
Yeah, kinda. Redline's a little more extreme, but dude, Le Mans is insane. Anyway, so when did this movie come out?
2019.
2019, and it's set in 1966.
Yes.
So it's a period piece. So there's lots of I guess period accurate clothing and technology.
Honestly, if it wasn't for the cars, you wouldn't even notice this was a period piece.
Yeah, everyone's
the lack of cell phones.
Lack of cell phones. A lot of people were dressed kind of very conservative for the 60s.
Well, you have to think executives wouldn't be dressed crazily.
But they're all gearheads too, so they're not hippies.
It's what you find at the local.
Plus, they're all veterans.
Yeah,
that was a big thing. Shelby and Miller, or whatever his name was, were veterans. But yeah, I like the cars. They're purty.
Yeah, the Ford definitely looked better than the Ferrari. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean the Ford GT40. Anyone who's a gearhead knows that car's a legend. The whole, I mean, not just the history around it. Well, I mean, obviously the history around it, but not just the race. It's just everything that went into that car, the development, the styling, everything.
What race was the car?
It was a Ford.
Okay, sorry, that joke. But
but yeah, how's the movie start out, Chris?
I don't remember, honestly.
It starts off with Lee Iacocca wanting to make Ford have a new image because the image is getting stale.
Now, Andrew, can you give us a quick rundown on Lee Iacocca?
Lee Iacocca was an executive for a very long time. He was very famous. He was kind of a celebrity in the world, and he basically was the brainchild behind a lot of really successful products like the Ford Mustang
and the minivan.
What?
Didn't he also come up with the minivan?
Yeah, he. Funny story. He originally had the minivan for Ford, and Ford thought it was a dumb idea, so they fired him. And he brought that idea to Chrysler, and then Chrysler got the minivan.
Now, what's more successful, the minivan or the Mustang?
Yeah, the minivan. The minivan revolution. It turned into the SUV. You know?
Yeah, but they still sell Mustang's been around longer.
Yeah. No, I prefer Mustangs.
Yeah, but I definitely think more people drive a minivan
than a Mustang,
no matter what brand it is.
No, but that's the thing about Lee Iacocca is he was an innovator. He was a genius in his industry. He's. It's like that scene where they're in the boardroom, and Lee Iacocca is basically like, yeah, who cares who makes the most cars? Let's make the best cars. Let's appeal to the market kind of thinking. Whereas Henry Ford II was like, I don't give a fuck. And that fucking BB Leo Jew man was like, yes, yes. He was basically Grima Wormtongue to Theoden, like in Lord of the Rings. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So I don't really remember how the movie begins. There's some emotional bullshit. Oh
Well,
no, it starts with Shelby winning Le Mans.
Yeah, it starts with him, Matt Damon's character racing. Then
Carol Shelby.
as he's going on, things start getting a little.
He pulls into the pit to refuel, and he's like, the engine's running hot, and they spill gasoline on the back of the car, which lights the back of the car and him on fire. And they're like, you can't race. And he's like, am I still on fire? And they're like, no. And he goes, okay.
Fill it up.
Yeah. And notice they changed the way gas is pumped into the car after that.
Yeah, he goes on the race and
he wins.
Yeah, but while he's winning, he has like a fucking
heart attack.
Low grade. I would like to say a low grade heart attack.
There's no such thing. A heart attack's a heart attack.
Yeah, Kevin Smith survived the heart attack though.
Oh boy, did he cry about it online?
Probably. Yeah.
So they, on a side note, Ford is trying to redo their image. The Iacocca is trying to come up with a racing image for Ford. And they say, well, we already race. He's like, yeah, but not at Le Mans, which is the greatest race ever. So
I had no idea there was a 24-hour race before this.
Yeah, we should explain what Le Mans is. It's this fucking legendary race in France.
France.
And it's 24 hours. And the track is what? 3.5
minutes long.
Yeah, it's like a 3-minute track. And you have to do that 24 hours. And you have 2 drivers per car. And it's just insane. And people like crash and die all the time on it.
And they still do it to this day.
Yeah, it's a little safer now, but back then, like, you're driving at night in a thunderstorm and your headlights and your wipers are like garbage. And then, oh my God, there's an accident in front of me. And you got to swerve out of the way at 200 miles per hour. Yeah, it was pretty intense. The racing scenes in this movie were amazing, but everything else was kind of meh for me.
So after he tries to convince Henry Ford II to get into Le Mans, he finally convinces him that they can buy Ferrari because Ferrari has a really good racing image and everything else. And Ferrari is currently about to declare bankruptcy. They're running out of money. Because
he spent all this money on racing.
So they fly out to Italy. They send Lee Iacocca. He goes out there. He puts the whole paperwork together for Enzo Ferrari and says, "Hey, this is what we're offering you." Enzo's reading through it, and when he finds out he's not going to have 100% control of the racing team, but only 90% of control, he basically tells them, "Go fuck yourself." He calls Henry Ford II fat, and what is it? Fat, pig-headed, and he's not Henry Ford. He's Henry Ford II.
Yeah, he's the second.
I like to think they were never planning on selling the Ford though.
Well,
because he had the Italian pride, so he was hoping.
Of course, he's going to sell the Fiat.
They had the photographer there, and they're like, "No, let him take pictures."
Exactly, and so then the photographer ran to Fiat to be like, "Look what we're doing."
And then there's a scene where they're looking at the newspaper, and it's like Fiat buys Ferrari, and it's like, but used us all along.
Fiat bought Ferrari for double what Ford was asking.
Yeah,
which was
the genius of the Ferrari guy.
Well, the Ferrari guy, like when he tips his hat, like he's a genius. Yeah. He's Enzo fucking Ferrari.
He's a fucking businessman. He knows, and he was outdone in that race.
Mm-hmm. Spoilers.
They fly back to Detroit. They tell Henry Ford II, or Hank the Deuce, his nickname, what happens, and needless to say, he's pissed off. He writes him a blank check and says, "Build me a car that can beat him." So,
boy, do they.
They do. The only thing this movie kind of glosses over is their first 2 attempts at Le Mans, which ended up as a huge disaster. I mean, they mention it that their first race didn't go very well, but that's what forces him to reach out to Carroll Shelby and say, "Hey, I know you build race cars. Here's a blank check. Do it." So that's when Carroll Shelby starts putting together a car. He reaches out to his good friend Ken Miles, asks him to race, but Ken Miles is a hothead.
Why?
So I can see Andrew, and that's Christian Bale's character.
Yeah,
and he's a no bullshit guy from England.
He stormed the beaches of Normandy in a broken tank and drove it all the way to Berlin.
And won.
So he's no, he lost. We all speak German now.
Damn it.
Yeah, I know. It would be such a bad thing.
Hollywood would be the same.
Yeah. So this guy's like he's a war vet. He's a fucking master. To drive a tank in World War II and to keep the same tank the entire time is insane.
And Christian Bale's character is basically, he owns a car
Dealership.
mechanic place, and he's on hard times. It ends up getting shut down
by the IRS.
And while he's doing that, he's also racing for Matt Damon's character
and winning
because he's the best.
But he's difficult to work with
because he's a hothead.
Yeah,
and that leads to when Ford ends up talking to Matt Damon, and they want him to come on and help build the car, find a racer, and everything. They don't want
because, as Lee Iacocca said, is Shelby the only only American to win Le Mans at the time? Was that
at the time? Yes.
So he was like, "You're the only American to win Le Mans, so of course I want you in charge of this project." And Shelby's like, the big thing is like, dude, I want full control, and Lee Iacocca's like, I can't promise you that.
Yeah,
we got to play the corporate game, and when they play the corporate game, it doesn't work out.
So to Christian Bale's bad luck, I guess you could say, in the movie, Matt Damon invites him to the Ford party where they're revealing the new Mustang. And the first interaction Christian Bale has is with the guy basically in charge of Ford.
Lee Beebe or whatever.
Yeah, what's his title?
He's the senior vice president. He's the Jew.
Yeah. So basically, he pretty much like shoves that guy off and like totally breaks apart the Mustang.
Yeah, tears the Mustang apart. Talks about how like 3-cylinder, really?
So it's not a good first impression.
Not 3-cylinder, 3-speed.
3-speed, yeah.
3-cylinder car.
I don't fucking know shit about cars. You know what? I can tell you how much a dent costs, but I can't tell you a dick about how the car works.
So Christian Bale pretty much like shits on this guy, and when they all get together to finally meet, Matt Damon's like, "Hey, this is he," and he's like, "Oh, we've met."
Yeah. He kept telling Christian Bale's kid to keep his hands off the car, which I agree with. Fuck Christian Bale's kid. I hate him.
So unwarranted.
It isn't.
He just loves his dad.
But every scene, he's always like,
because he likes cars. He's like, holy shit.
But every scene, even when his parents are like fighting, it's
oh, cool.
Yeah, exactly. And then like,
I thought this was gonna be a boring night.
He has no emotions other than
leave the kid alone.
I would kick him in the head if I saw that. Like,
so they get the deal. Matt Damon has it, and he has Christian Bale as a driver. But the more they have Christian Bale testing the car, they're fixing it up. Christian Bale's pretty much like, you need to do this, you need to do this to fix the car.
He keeps talking about how the car wants to be a plane. It keeps lifting.
Yeah. Talking about pretty much, I don't know, we're not a car expert, but the weight of it,
I'm not an
aerodynamics-y.
I'm not an autoologist, all right? I'm not
But this is where that douchey guy from Ford.
Downforce is the term you're looking for.
There we go.
I am a car guy.
Oh, Andrew's a car guy. All right.
All right, so the douchey guy comes, and he wants to talk to Matt Damon.
Segue into Andrew talking, by the way.
And what's the guy say to Matt Damon, Andrew?
Basically says he doesn't want Ken Miles racing because he doesn't have the proper image.
He's a hick, they say.
Basically says he's a hick.
This isn't NASCAR. We don't have hicks.
But he's from England. How can he be a hick?
Because the way he dresses, he doesn't dress properly. He doesn't act properly. He's constantly swearing. He's not that image of the all-around
American guy.
So am I a hick by their standards?
By 1960s standards, absolutely.
Am I?
No, you're just fat. So they get this new engine, right? Because they figure they got to somehow weigh the car down.
But it's not just that. He doesn't have enough power. They want more power.
He needs more power. He needs to weigh the car down, and he needs to get it to be front heavy without fucking up the aerodynamics. So they do that cool yarn scene.
They actually do talk about taking weight off the engine too, though.
Right. So they get a smaller. I don't know anything about it. Andrew, can you explain the Beast?
That's the 427 V8.
Yeah.
So what they were running before, I think, was a 289. The 289 just wasn't cutting it.
What makes the Beast special? They were talking about how it's like smaller, but it puts out more horsepower or something.
It's just a massive V8.
That's all it is. It's just
Well, no, that's not all it is. It was more advanced. It was more advanced. You're
What's better, that or the Hemi?
fuck off. Dude, I supercharged my Hemi V8 the other day.
Oh yeah, how's your brother's Subaru doing?
I don't know. I hate my brother's Subaru so much.
Sorry, Andrew. Go ahead.
Anyway, this engine is brand new. This 427, it's brand new, so they're still testing stuff out on it. They want to see if this will actually work for the car. So Ken Miles takes it out on the track. He's, pushing it to its limits. They're determined that they don't want to go over 7,000 RPMs, realistically 6,000 RPMs. But while he's out there, the brakes start to overheat. And as the brakes are overheating, he loses control of the car and catches on fire.
That was a cool effect.
Yeah.
Where you see the actual brake pads just turn bright orange because they can't deal with the friction anymore.
And that actually happens in racing a lot.
Oh, I've seen it. Real life.
I wonder
in
how
NASCAR.
long it took the editors and everything to put that in.
Either they did it for real, which puts the stunt man at
they
a
wouldn't
huge risk.
But just like a simple scene like that, seeing the orange, the amount of time it would take for the editors and the CGI people to put that on with the speed they were going.
And yet the $1 billion Black Panther movie has like PS2 graphics. You know? Like, hey, did you know most of the driving in this movie was done with real cars, not CGI? But didn't it look CGI?
It's the camera work.
It's the camera work.
We'll get to that later.
I think the soundtrack was the weakest part of this movie.
Who was there?
It was very like that kind of movie.
Well, it's one of those movies where we always talk about the soundtrack was there.
It's the movie where like guys in a suit are like fixing their ties and there's that like do.
I do like the end song when he was winning and the rock theme came on and stuff.
It's very like the rock theme, the funk song, like yeah. Or like when he's working on like the mechanic stuff, it's like working overtime. Like very.
Andrew knows all about that music.
The generic bullshit music, but like I couldn't.
Anyway, since you guys are all over the fucking place. Anyway.
Sorry.
Jesus Christ.
Welcome back. I think I got monkeypox.
So yeah, Christian Bale gets put on the sideline. He stays. They
didn't even talk about what happened.
I know. Let him talk, you fuck.
Damn, yo.
Oh, Chad. All right. So the brakes overheat. He crashes.
Right.
And his son sees it. His son sees the whole thing happening. Ken Miles' son sees the whole thing happening, and he's all scared about it. And one of the guys who's working there says, "Hey, don't worry about it because they have suits that are flame resistant."
But what was the big line?
He got out of
the big line though was that
nothing matters.
The son says, "Well, I saw a guy in a race where they crashed, and he was wearing one of those suits, and he still died." And he says, "Well, he didn't get out of the car; he was trapped."
The most important thing is to get out. Everything will be okay if you can get out of the car.
And he says, "And your dad got out of the car."
Right. So that's why your dad's great. Foreshadowing.
So anyway, Leo Beebe, I guess is his name. He's the executive at Ford who's kind of a dick. He convinced Henry Ford II that Ken Miles can't race because he doesn't have the right image and everything else. So he flies down to let him know that that's not going to happen. And Carroll Shelby has to break the news. He's handing the passports and the plane tickets out to everyone, saying, "Hey, get ready, we're leaving." And then he asks Ken to meet him in his office and talk about this privately.
Even brings a young McLaren. And if you guys know what McLarens are, they're super expensive cars.
Yes, Bruce McLaren was a race car driver before
all
of that.
But he was young.
Oh, I thought it was just a coincidence.
Yeah, it wasn't just a coincidence. Do you know how long it took? What was the line where Chad was like, "Oh, wait a minute"?
No, I was joking. I'm like, isn't there a Shelby Mustang?
No, you weren't joking.
No, you did not know that. You did
said
not.
that.
I did. As soon as it said Shelby and Ford, I'm like, all right, I guess.
Yeah, right. Like, that's the point. Is like, you didn't know that going in. You just were like, "Oh, Shelby Mustang. Okay."
Yeah. I'm not a car enthusiast.
You're not an auto
Octavius.
Otto Octavius. You're not an auto. You don't have 8 appendages?
All right, so the fast forward. The scene's going forward is Christian Bale working in the warehouse, fixing cars, listening to the
He's
radio.
listening to the race because he's not there.
And he's like, should have done this,
No,
should have done this.
best part is the last guy, he's there with one other person, and as that guy's leaving, he's like, hey, do you want me to turn the radio on to the race? And Christian Bale, nah, unless you want to. And nah, I don't want to. And then the guy leaves. And as soon as the guy leaves, he turns the radio on to the race and starts working.
But guess what happens? The driver...
They end up falling apart and losing the race big time.
The only thing that
The gear
lasted was the
shaft.
brakes. No, he said the only thing that worked was the brakes.
Oh, that's when he was trying to... No, that was later.
No, that was during when Matt...
No, that's when Matt Damon has to see, they lose the race, and then Matt Damon has to justify why the race program should stay.
Yeah.
So they lose the race, but while they're losing the race, Christian Bale is working on a car. Oh, the gear shaft. Oh, this. Oh, that. Oh, this. Headlights at one point, right? He like makes the headlights better. Then his wife comes in and completely distracts him. Completely ruins all progress.
She was giving him the mojo he needed to complete it.
Dude, she sucked. 1 minute she's telling him to race, 1 minute she's telling him to knock, then she's crying, then she's trying
And then, yeah, and he called her out on that too in the car.
Did he punch her in the face? Because that's the best way to call a
No,
woman
he gave
out.
her a stern look.
He's a Brit. In England, you're allowed to hit women.
That's not true.
Back in the 60s, you were.
Yeah, but hitting women is wrong.
Unless they deserve it. So after the entire cast of the film turns to Chad and goes, "You're fat," they...
Shut up.
So anyway, Carroll Shelby has to go back to Ford headquarters and explain to Henry Ford why they lost. Henry Ford is pissed off, obviously, because they just sunk a ton of money into this and got almost nowhere.
Don't tell me why I don't fire your ass.
But Carroll Shelby brings up a good point to Henry Ford, and that is,
The ant.
we were faster than them in the straights.
Yeah,
In fact, we actually broke a record for top speed that
So-
Ferrari hasn't been able to touch.
And
What they say,
Enzo, and
216
now
or something?
he's like, sure, we didn't win, but Enzo Ferrari knows we're faster than him.
So that got him scared.
That's all that matters, is we're faster than him. And then he goes, so when I was sitting in your waiting room, I saw a piece of paper go through 4 people's hands before it got to you.
We don't need a committee. We need a main person in charge.
And then Henry Ford says one of the best lines in the movie, and he goes, everyone thinks Roosevelt won the war. Every 3 out of 5 bombers came out of that factory. Basically saying Henry Ford won the goddamn war. So then he's like, you're right, you report to me now. Only to me. And then you see the fucking Leo Beebe Jew like, you know, sniveling in the background. And Lee Iacocca being like, fuck yeah. So basically,
This whole scene represented, all right, you want your guy, and then they make the deal, right?
right.
What's the deal is, if he wins, he gets
If
to
Ken,
fly-
if Ken Miles wins at Daytona, the 24 hours of Daytona,
He
he gets to race at Le Mans.
But if he loses, Ford gets full control of.
Oh no, he makes that deal when he takes him out in the car. This was he had to win the race before Daytona. Right?
No, wait. Yeah, you know, you're right. Edit this out. We got it backwards.
Yeah.
He basically says, all right, fine. He says, you have full control of the race team. Go out there and do it. Then Henry Ford II decides to do a surprise visit to their hangar where they're building these cars. And he says, basically, I sunk $9 million into this project. I want to see what this car is all about.
But the main reason for that visit, Andrew, is because Lee Iacocca warns Shelby that the BB guy just got promoted from director of marketing to assistant vice president or something crazy like that. And he's coming here to snuff Shelby because him and Shelby have beef, right? So Shelby takes him up into the room and he shuts all the shades. And he's like, you know, like, no hard feelings. And Shelby's like, yeah, of course, no hard feelings. And then just shuts the door and locks him in the room. And the guy starts freaking out. So Shelby runs down to fucking Henry Ford. I keep wanting to say, like, Henry VIII or something. Like
Hank the Deuce.
Hank the Deuce. I'll do that. He runs down to Hank the Deuce. And he goes, you want to see your $9 million investment? Hop in.
And they're like helping him into the car.
Yeah. And I was
He's
like,
tall as fuck.
I want to be that rich.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hold me. I want to be a king.
So at this point, Matt Damon just fucking
guns it. Going 200, taking
like avoiding barrels and stuff.
Taking hairpin turns. Henry the Ford screaming Henry the Ford. See what I mean? See what I mean?
Henry the Ford. Fuck
Henry the Ford is screaming and freaking
and he's
out.
like, at one point, he's like, "Whoo, yeah!"
He gets into it, and then they stop, and he starts crying. And he's like, "If only my dad could see what you achieved. It's all yours. Do what you want. This is your project. You need to fucking win." I didn't know. What did he keep saying? I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know it was like this.
And so,
that's when they make the deal, because he's like, well, I don't know about this Ken Miles guy. I don't know. He goes, that's when they make the deal, saying, if Ken Miles can win the 24 hours at Daytona, then he can go to the 24 hours of Le Mans. If we lose, then you get full control of Carroll Shelby cars.
Shelby Motor Incorporated or whatever. And then guess what Ken Miles does? He wins it in spectacular fashion.
And the whole time, fucking BB guy is trying to like sabotage it too.
Yeah. Like he tells the other Ford Motor guy to fuck with him. Like they trade paint and shit, but then because Ken Miles is willing to go over 700,000 RPMs or whatever.
Yeah, because halfway through
7,000.
What was it? 8 hours into the race, he wasn't supposed to go over 7, so he was keeping it.
He wasn't supposed to roll over 6.
And
that's when Carroll Shelby comes out with the sign and he's holding it up and it says, hit 7,000.
You forget about
go for it.
No, you forget about the beginning of the race where his door wouldn't shut, so it was keeping him like behind. Is that the other race?
That's Le Mans.
Oh god damn it.
Le Mans is the other race. This is the one in the daytime mostly.
Might be.
Where he's racing the green car, not the red one.
Yeah.
And the green car is the other guy who, remember, the other guy was looking at him and then he pitted the yellow car and fucking made the yellow car blow up. And Christian Bale was like, Jesus Christ! And then he was like, enemy for life. And that's why they were fucking... Yeah.
So yeah, he wins. Ken Miles wins at Daytona, which allows them to race at Le Mans, which is the big showdown that we were all waiting for.
Now, Chad, how does the race at Le Mans start?
This is great. This is how every NASCAR race should.
I agree.
Basically, all the cars are parked and all the drivers are lined up. So as soon as the flag goes, they have to sprint to their car,
they have to sprint across
get in,
the track,
start it, and go. And sometimes you might get T-boned. Because people got a little
antsy.
A little eccentric there.
Was there anything before Le Mans worth mentioning?
There was some family stuff where the wife was being like, I don't want you to quit racing. You need to stop this. It's destroying you.
Okay, you need to go back to racing. And he was like, all right. And then his kid was like, I'm a fucking loser. And he was like, I know. And then, there was the scene where he walks out on the track at night.
That was nice.
He wants to walk the track, basically.
Yeah, I'm going to walk the track. And then there was the whole scene where he's like, people do this when they drive fast. You need to do this, which I get.
Well, that's a natural thing you should do with driving.
Yes, exactly. A lot of people tunnel vision with driving, and that's why there's lots of accidents. You need to be deer, not wolf, you know? But, it's fucking stupid. And then Christian Bale finally gets behind the car, and Le Mans is insane.
Yeah.
It's an insane race.
Like I was saying, beginning of the race, his door won't shut.
Yeah, he can't get his door to shut. So even though he's in like first place,
he wasn't in first. He was behind.
Well, no, he started off. He got out real quick, and it was him and Enzo's Ferrari's.
He was probably third out because you had the first car, the second car hit the first car. He went off.
Yeah, and he couldn't get his door shut, so it was creating a lot of drag.
Yeah,
and he slowed down to like maybe 10th.
He has to do a pit stop on the next
very first lap. Yeah,
basically. So they're all trying to get it. Then his partner guy comes out with a rubber hammer.
Oh, the mechanic that's been with him the whole time, who speaks very clear and very straight, no illusions. You know exactly. So everyone's trying to get this door shut, and he just grabs a rubber mallet and just bangs it into place, and he goes, "All right, you're good."
And the crazy thing is, that's 100% true. That really happened.
Exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Even the Shelby scene where he catches on fire, like that happened.
These Ford cars can't close trunks, can't close doors.
We did.
The trunk wasn't a Ford. That was a British car.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks for ruining my joke.
Yep. You know what Ford stands for? Fix it again.
First on race day.
First on race day. No, you heard my joke. I was gonna go. Ford stands for fix it again, Tony. Because that's
King of the Hill.
Yep. Thank you. That's my favorite Dale.
That's a Fiat, Dale. Fix it again.
Yeah. Like, he's trying to go it in his head.
Yeah, the camera work in this race was great.
Yeah, I was actually looking before we started filming. I was looking at some of this like production of this, and it's really crazy. They had all these crazy hookups to the actual race cars for all the cameras and everything.
Now, did they have tailors, like cars tailing them behind, or was it all cameras hooked up to the cars to get the?
I think it was a little of both, honestly.
Yeah.
I remember when this movie came out, a lot of the car websites that I go to were talking about how they were actually doing like a really, really, like they were trying to use as little CGI as possible.
Yeah, but they weren't going 200 miles per hour.
Duh.
That's what I'm saying. Like they were probably going maybe 60, and then they just made it look like they were going faster. But still go 60 like that with those kind of cars. You know, it was good.
That's where you got to give it to the editing team.
The crashes, the ones that turned into fire, looked legit.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's a regular crash, and you're like, ooh, that looks rough, and then it explodes instead of exploding on impact like they do in the movies. Because that's not how it works. Like, you have to rupture the gas, you know, it has to be an explosion. It just doesn't turn into an explosion. No. That one yellow car that gets pitted into the bush, and you're like, that was rough, and then it explodes into flames, and you're like, oh my god. Or the one that's spinning on its roof.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you're like, Jesus Christ.
The filmography in this movie was great.
Cinematography.
I call it filmography.
Filmography, what does that mean?
You film it and you ography it.
I hate you so much.
The way they did the filmography in this movie was amazing.
Cinematography. There's classes you can take in college called cinematography. Filmography is what retard overweight men who are bald come up with. Look at my luscious hair.
One thing that they kind of glossed over, though, that I wish they kind of covered a little bit better, because it was really confusing Chad, and I know this is really hard for Chad to understand. Ken Miles didn't race all 24 hours.
Yeah, Chad was really...
I got that.
No, you didn't. You asked like 3 times.
You asked like several times.
I mean, no.
You did. Yes,
about
you did.
The 24-hour race. And then you guys are like, oh, there's more than one driver. And I'm like, okay. That's how that conversation
But then
happened.
you thought you meant... By that you meant more than one car, and you were like, okay, wait, 2 drivers have to...
I never
yes,
said that.
Yes, you did.
No.
And then you went, how long is...
No, I was saying...
You asked me, you asked us, how long is 24 hours?
That's a lie. I asked...
we had to say, Chad, no. We had to say, 24 hours is a day, and you went, okay, what's a day?
No,
I asked... Dude, really?
What I really asked is, does Ford have more than one car racing on the team?
Yes! And then you went, how long is 24 hours?
Oh my god.
It was fucking pathetic.
So I think in 1966, I think there was 4 Fords.
There was 4 Fords and 4 Ferraris. And then I think I saw 2 Porsche, maybe.
There was a whole bunch of cars that raced.
Yeah. I saw a couple Porsche. At least when they showed the stand, I saw like Ferrari, Ford, Ferrari, Porsche. And then another company that I didn't recognize. It began with a C. Not Chevrolet or something like that. It was like Cahalan. It was something Irish looking.
No.
Yeah, there were 4 Fords. Austin Healey was there. Ferrari, Alpine, Ferrari. Actually, there was more than 4 Fords. There was a couple other GT40s. Yeah, I mean, there was a bunch of different brands. Peugeot was there.
Pick the weirdest one on the list and say it out loud.
Ford.
Peugeot, Ford, Ferrari. There was Chevy. They didn't finish.
Chevy didn't finish.
Peugeot, ASA, Ferrari, BRM, Chevrolet.
Chevrolet.
That one also didn't finish.
Where did Volkswagen come?
They didn't race. Oh, Renault raced. They also didn't finish.
Renault?
All right. So during the race, guess what? Christian Bale's killing it.
He breaks the record 3 times in a row. And then he has to pit because his brakes are doing the same thing that made him crash.
Yeah, he was smart about this time.
So Enzo Ferrari.
Well, he still crashes a little bit, but he's able to recover.
Yeah, and then Enzo Ferrari's boy gets 2 laps on him because it takes a while because they decide. Let's just
They developed something really cool. They developed a braking system that you could remove from the car and put a new one on.
Yeah, just
Basically,
like
new
like
rotors
Legos.
and everything, right?
It was almost like Legos.
Yeah, so they got new rotors attached to the brake pads and all that. They put it on
They pulled
there.
the whole system out and replaced it with a new one.
And at this point, Ferrari's like, "Hey, against the rules."
And they're like, parts apart, motherfucker.
Yeah, in your little book there, it doesn't say
Also,
it.
we'll fucking kill you.
I'll fuck you up.
And the guy was like, whoa.
It's like, damn, Christian Bale, I don't need you to. I'm not wearing hockey pads. It's okay.
Yeah, and like it got real intense when they pulled the guns on each other. But it went right back to racing.
Christian Bale lifted up a fucking batarang.
Yeah, he was like, I'll get you. I'll get you.
Right in the shin. That would hurt.
Anyway,
So, yeah, they get to do
beat
it.
the shit out of the authorities. And they changed the rules. No, none of that happens, obviously. So basically, parts apart. And what are you going to do, committee? You said we can change parts. We're going to change parts. So they do this really rad scene where they chain the brake. Like, having done so much brake work on the various cars I've driven, to be able to just pull it all out and put a new one in.
But as they're
It's
changing the
fucking
brakes,
amazing.
the Ferrari comes in and goes off like in a hitch.
Clockwork.
And in that time, Christian Bale's on the phone with his wife.
Because she's telling him not to race or something. I don't know.
No, she's being supportive.
Oh, now she's telling him to race.
Yeah.
But anyway, the reason the Ferrari team was so quick is because they hired NASCAR, right?
Yeah.
No, that was the other Ford team.
Oh, that was the other Ford team? The other Ford team.
Yeah, because the fucking BG, whatever his name is, guy got a grade A team for that car, but not for Christian Bale's car.
So they swap the brakes. Christian Bale guns it. And he knows he has to pass the Ferrari twice. And on the second pass, the Ferrari and him are gunning it. You know, they're both at 5,000, 6,000, 7,000.
The Ferrari goes to 8,000, and guess what?
Close the engine.
And guess what? Shelby, 8,000 and it works.
I love how Christian Bale, when that happens, is like,
Oh my god.
yes.
Just that line. Oh my god.
Because at that point, all he has to do is basically finish.
Yeah, he's won.
But
Yeah.
he has to hit again.
No, he doesn't pit again.
Well, we forgot about Matt Damon being like, they want you to.
No, that was before he went out on the track. They wanted him to do the 3-car finish.
I thought that was during the race.
No, when they were swapping out the brakes, that's when he got told.
Yeah, when they were swapping out the brakes, that douchey corporate guy's like, Ford wants you to have all 3 cars finish at the same time.
Right.
And guess who didn't like that?
All of them.
All of them, because Christian Bale's killing it.
But Christian Bale, they say it's your car. And he fucking beats Ferrari. He breaks the record one more time. And then he decides to do what corporate wants.
He slows down.
They cross the finish line, and even though he crossed the finish line first, on a technicality, Bruce McLaren drove more miles than him.
So
he
this
gets-
race is factored upon times and laps, right? And miles driven instead of
Yeah.
like who finishes last.
But that
Or
doesn't make
first,
any
I mean.
sense. Because it's like, dude, he broke the record 3 times. He's obviously...
Yeah, but they're saying the first guy drove off first.
But he broke the record 3 times. He's obviously the better racer. Where was McLaren on the record board compared to Ken Miller, you know?
He was more steady of a driver.
Okay, slow and steady wins the race, I guess, but when it comes down to who's the
I
fastest...
love how the time he's slowing down, he's like, "Where are
Well,
you?"
according to this, they both did 360 laps. Bruce McLaren and Ken Miles both did 360 laps.
Yeah.
But I think it was because he was further back when the race started.
That's what I'm saying.
But the only reason is because Ken Miller decided to slow down. So if that's the case, you have to factor in, okay, so Ken Miller slows down to allow McLaren to tie with him. Okay, who did the fastest lap? Whose lap was
I think it's more of who completed the race fastest, because you had Christian Bale having to pit longer because of the brakes and
But
everything.
it doesn't matter.
And he didn't get off the track
but,
longer.
But who had the fastest lap.
He got robbed, and he finished first.
He had the fastest lap.
But
therefore he wins.
technicalities, he pitted longer. He had a slower start time, so the amount of race time.
He had
a
the
lot
fastest.
of bleeps in this part.
He had the fastest lap. He won. And McLaren should have been like, no, give it to him. But McLaren, being the fucking douche he is, I don't know anything about the man.
Yeah, but he's a douche for doing this.
Yeah, he's a douche for accepting the roses.
But you know what happens? Matt Damon comes up to him being like, and he starts talking to Christian Bale about the car. He's like, we could do better.
Next year we'll do better, but what happens while they're training?
Yeah, Christian Bale is very modest as he goes off. He's like, yeah, but this happened. So as they're training in the new car, Christian Bale's going around the track. He has that little monologue that he talks. I forget what he said.
It's when you get to 7,000 RPM, the world seems different.
Yeah.
And as that happens, you see him in the distance going around the corner.
You hear the pop. And that's usually engine blown. Then
But
you see him swerve.
this
And
time,
swerve again. And then boom, and then an explosion.
he didn't get out of the car.
Yep, he died.
I did not see that coming.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know.
I saw it coming. I knew one of them was gonna die.
Why? It's a fucking car movie. It's not a shoot 'em out movie.
But that was the way it was filmed.
Yeah.
So according to Wikipedia, what actually happened was the car, the downforce wasn't working right. It caused the car to flip and crash and catch fire.
Whoa.
And Ken Miles was actually ejected from the car, and it killed him instantly.
Damn.
So going forward, goes airborne, and then he gets ejected?
He probably hits the ground, windshield breaks, flips again. He goes through the windshield, flips.
As the car suddenly looped, flipped, crashed, and caught fire.
Whoop. And that was the big thing he was complaining about, was the
Lift.
Downforce, yeah. And they said as a result of this, the next Ford GT40, what they call the J car, they did a big modification to correct the lift.
And the best thing about this was when
They put a cinder block on the hood.
Christian Bale was talking to Matt Damon before he was told that he couldn't race in the beginning of it. If you put these wedges in, it's going to help with all the...
Well, no, the wedges was to get it to pass the inspection because it had to be a certain
Yeah, but
amount of inches.
it helped the weight and everything, he was saying.
But
It was more of the airflow.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if we put the wedges in there, it'll help with the airflow.
Then at the end of the movie, Christian Bale picks up the wedge. He's like, or Matt Damon does. He's like, damn. Why don't
He
you
looks
speak
over
up?
his
Why don't you
shoulder.
speak up sooner? There's a
And
little
then-
ghost of Christian Bale
And he's
being like,
giving him a thumbs up.
you finally got it. I left it to
Glad
you.
I started to say it. You know, you saw what I was going for. You picked it. You're learning.
But yeah. Time
And then
passes.
some old woman walks by and she looks and she sees him holding the wedge. She goes, "What's your name?" And he goes, "My name's Carol Miles."
Yeah.
Whoa. So the movie ends. Matt Damon goes to visit Christian Bale's wife, but he ends up running into the son
And he beats the shit out of him.
with the wrench.
It's fucking
Because
intense.
beginning of the movie, Christian Bale throws a wrench at.
And he
Matt
was
Damon's
like, "Your
son.
daddy threw this at me. I'm gonna throw it at you." And he throws it at him.
No, but he gives him the wrench, and the son's like, "Are you gonna talk to my mom?" He's like, "Sometimes words don't heal. I don't think I'm gonna go do it."
Yep.
So they have the little wave, the "I forgive you" type shit. maybe?
Shelby starts to cry, and then he just guns it through traffic.
He does. That was real. And the movie ends.
And then it was a fun little like period piece. You know?
Yeah, I love the racing cinematography. in
Yeah,
this
the
movie.
racing was really good in this movie. This is another movie where it's like, dude, I don't care about people. Like, watch. I want to watch. I came to this wanting to watch cars. I
Yeah,
want to watch cars.
there was one point where I got like that, where I'm like, Days of Thunder.
Yeah.
But it got better towards the end, where you actually start caring a little more about the characters.
When Lamaze kicked in,
Yeah.
when Lamaze was a
See,
thing.
Days of Thunder had the problem where you just didn't give a shit. You had Tom Cruise and his
Well, Days
old-
of Thunder was like, beginning's good, middle sucks, ending's
ending's
good.
awesome.
This was like, beginning sucks, middle's okay.
I didn't mind the beginning. I liked it. I liked what they were doing with it.
I don't know.
What about you, Andrew? Do you like the beginning?
Well, I have a different view on this. I liked it because the family stuff didn't bother me because a lot of these guys, they're bigger than life. I knew about who they were beforehand, like Carroll Shelby, Henry Ford II, and Ken Miles. So to me, it was kind of interesting to see the how they interacted with each other.
Yeah. Do you think they could have cut any time off this movie? It's 2.5 hours.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, the scene in the hangar with him and his wife could have been shortened. It didn't have to, go for so long. Her stopping in to talk to him and tell him, but
a lot of scenes with his wife. You could have cut out the entire but I get what they were trying to do.
The fighting scene should have been cut out.
They were trying to make his death more impactful by letting you know about his family and child. But it's like,
yeah, but you could have had it be loving during the whole thing instead of like that little fight.
But who cares that his garage got shut down?
I'm not mad about that.
Also, dude, he's racing but not getting prize money? The fuck?
Well, he's getting paid by hour. Or by
those races, I don't think there's a big payout on those races.
But he got a trophy. But it's still like a $2,000 payout and 60.
He's getting paid $200 a day, man.
After Ford hired him. Remember, his wife was like blown away when she heard how much he was getting paid.
Well, $200 a day is probably like $500 a day.
But I'm saying like a $500 first place for a race. That's good money in the 60s.
Yeah.
So like he's got all these trophies. Remember, he throws them out. It's like, bitch, you're making good money off racing. Don't try and sit here and no. There has to be something. Maybe he's an alcoholic or a gambler.
Yeah, Chad, you're a little off. $200 in 1966 is worth $18.29 today.
How'd you think of the acting?
Christian Bale's amazing. Matt Damon is Matt Damon.
Matt Damon's great. Why do you hate Matt Damon? Why do you hate Matt Damon?
How about them apples?
Ever seen Dogma? Great.
No.
I thought the casting was really good because if you see what these people look like in real life, they're pretty spot on.
Christian Bale's a lot.
Especially Enzo Ferrari. He looked pretty good. The actor they got to play Enzo was pretty good.
Well, hey, are you fat, old, and Italian? Here's a hat and sunglasses. I do like the hat tip scene. I thought that was nice.
No, this movie proved like Christian Bale is just probably the best actor working. Who was in Fifth Element? Gary Oldman.
The only thing I would have changed with the Henry Ford actor was he wasn't gray by that point. He still had black hair in the 60s.
He could have been using shoe polish.
I think Christian Bale's going to be a new Gary Oldman coming soon. He's going to be a character actor doing a bunch of cool shit.
No, Christian Bale's so far and above Gary Oldman.
What the fuck are you
talking about?
He's a great actor.
Christian Bale's on the way to becoming the next Marlon Brando.
Hopefully not.
No, he's on the way.
I hope he doesn't give up and just drink and get fat and...
But that's the point. You get so good, you just give up and you turn into a Jack Nicholson. You fucking idiot. You don't get it.
No.
You don't get what happens.
Jack Nicholson didn't have a choice. He got fucking Alzheimer's or dementia or something.
Old timers.
Alzheimer's or dementia.
Old timers. What time are we supposed to go live?
8:30. What time is it?
It's 8:30.
All right, we should end this.
Yeah, what would you rate this movie out of 5?
3 out of 5. It was a movie. Soundtrack could have been better. I really liked everything else. Family stuff could be cut out.
I'd give it a 3.85.
I hate you.
The scenes it was well filmed. The acting was great. I do admit they should have cut some out. 3.5, really, for me.
All right, what about you, Andy?
I'm gonna give it higher than you guys, mostly because I know about this stuff already. So it was really cool to see it all come together. But I'll give it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I'll agree. I give it a 3 only because my main gripes are the soundtrack. But if the soundtrack was better, I would have given it a 4.
I know. The soundtrack was there. It helped the movie flow. At the end, they had the cool rock theme. I'm okay with it. It's not like epic battle scenes where you'd have epic music, though.
Yeah, but at least have something listenable.
No.
I don't know. That's just my main gripe. I do like that the cars were cool. I liked the costumes were pretty bare bones. I like the cars. I liked the racing parts, and the racing parts were really well done.
Yeah, the way they filmed this movie is pretty innovating with the racing and everything.
I wouldn't say innovating. I would just say well done.
Yeah. What racing movies do you see?
Well, think about Return of the Jedi when they're on the skeet bikes. It was kind of the same kind of cinematography with the trees and stuff. It was the same thing.
I don't know.
I wonder. I've never looked up how did they actually film that. Like, obviously, I was talking with someone about this. They were like, "Oh, well, that's a green screen." I was like, "Yes, I fucking know it's a green screen." But I'm talking about the actual footage. Do they have a camera on a rail?
I think it was them in the thing, and the bike was moving, and they were moving the camera around it.
I'm pretty sure it was miniatures, and they ran a camera through the woods really fast, and then.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. How did they film the woods part? Was it on a rail?
Yeah, it was on a rail through the woods.
Was it a rail or was it a string? That's what I'm curious about.
Either or. Point is, it was on a
I think at that point it might have been a rail.
It was on a predetermined path through the woods, basically on a zip line going.
Yeah.
And then they did a green screen and had Luke react.
I honestly think it was more camera work than anything.
It was picture in picture.
No, I know, for the dramaticness of everything going on.
Like, because when Luke.
But we're not talking about Star Wars.
When Luke reacts to the branch, there's no physical branch. He just ducks his head, and you can actually.
I think they just do a lighting trick to make it look like a shadow goes over him or something.
Right. But if you actually look at it, the branch hits him in the head, but he ducks like it ain't a big deal.
But yeah.
Sorry.
Ford v Ferrari. Watch it. It's $3.99 on Amazon.
Chris is gonna go pee.